Hello again, I'm James. I'm an actor and a magician, and a friend of BICT's. Welcome to my magic workshops that I'm doing as part of BICT and Friends at Home. Each week I'm teaching you a magic trick that you can do with things that you can find around your own home. I'll show you the trick, then I'll teach you the secret behind it so you can do it too. And then I'll share some ideas about how you can be a better magician and a better performer. For week 2, I'm going to show you the jumping bands. All you need for this are some elastic bands. And afterwards, we're going to think a little bit about what your audience can see when you perform. But first, the trick. Three coloured elastic bands. Not many people know this, but you can train elastic bands to do tricks. I'll show you. The red elastic band jumps from here, hop, to here. I'll make it jump back. Hop! And the red band jumps back. Now, with 2 elastic bands, blue and red, hop, red and blue. And now, with the green wall of death. Ha ha ha, that's really tight. But it does stop the blue and red bands from getting off the ends of my fingers. And yet, red and blue, hop, blue and red, and green, ow, ow, ow. Oh, well done. Here's a good elastic band. You are. Yes, you are. So this is the explanation for the magic jumping bands. When I did it just now, there were actually 3 phases to this. The first phase, where the red band jumped on its own, then the second phase, where the red and blue bands changed places, and then the third phase, where they changed places even with the wall of death in the way. Actually, this is all the same trick. There is just one secret which makes it all work. But by adding extra bands, it makes it look more difficult or more impossible. So I'll show you how to do it with 1 band first, and then you can decide if you want to carry on and make it more impossible or more incredible. But actually, it does get a little bit more tricky. The other thing is, I should say, I do usually use elastic bands for this trick, but today I'm using hair bands. So if you have hair bands at home already, you can do the trick with hair bands. The reason I'm using these is because they're a little bit thicker and they're nice and brightly coloured, so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. So let's start with just 1 band first. Now I'm going to show you 2 different points of view. I'm going to show you what the audience can see, which is mostly the back of my hand, and then I'm going to show you what I can see, which is the palm of my hand. But it's important that this side is hidden to the audience, because this sort of shows you what's happening, how the trick works. So here's what happens. You take 1 band and you put it over the first 2 fingers of your hand. That's my index and middle finger like this. So this is what the audience sees. What I see is this side, and when I stretch the band to kind of prove that yes, it's on my fingers, before I let go, I curl these fingers in and all 4 fingers are going to go into the loop that I make when I stretch the band. So it looks like this. Now I might need to wiggle the band a little bit to get my finger through, that's okay. This all happens very quickly so the audience doesn't see it. And when I let go, the band just sits there just on the tips of my fingers, just sort of where my fingernails end. From the audience's point of view, they can't see this. All they see is the band wrapped around those 2 fingers. Actually, it's wrapped around those 2 fingers and then around all 4 fingers. What that means is when I open my hand, the band slips off these two fingers and onto the other two. It sort of rotates. Let me see if I can do it slowly. You can see it just starting to spring over my knuckles. And it looks like the band hops from these two fingers to these two fingers. Actually, it doesn't hop this way. It sort of swings over the end of my fingers like that. To make the band go back, you do exactly the same thing. From here, I stretch the band towards me, but remember the audience can't see that. When I make this loop, all four of my fingers go into that loop, and when I let go, the band just sits there on the tips of my fingers. Again, the audience can't see it. But when I open my hand, the band pivots around the ends of my fingers, and it looks like it jumps from here to here. Now, when I add another band, all I'm doing is the same trick, but with two bands at the same time and in different directions. The most difficult thing about this is that I have to stretch the blue band and get all four fingers through this loop, and stretch the red band and get all four fingers through this loop at the same time. So the difficult thing is to pinch one and then the other so that I can open this little loop in the middle. This loop here is just the blue band. This loop here is just the red band, but this is the one I want in the middle. If I can stretch that middle loop open, that's where I put my fingers, because now, look, you can see the red and the blue bands are wrapped over the tips of my fingers. It's just the same trick, but I'm doing it with two bands at the same time. Again, this is hidden to the audience. They just see the red band over these two fingers and the blue band over these two fingers. But when I open my hand, because it's wrapped around here, the blue band hops this way, the red band hops that way, and it looks like they change places. Let me show you one more time. Like you're the real audience. I stretch one band and the other band. You can't see it wrapped over the tips of my fingers from here, but when I open my hand, it looks like the bands change places. Now, if I want to add the wall of death, all I do is twist it between my fingers like this, but it doesn't change the trick at all. This band here makes it look more difficult, but the red band can still swing over the tips of my fingers, and the blue band can still swing over the tips of my fingers, but it looks much more difficult. It looks much more impossible. It's exactly the same trick. I stretch the blue band and the red band, open that loop in the middle, all my fingers go in, and when I open my hand, with a click of the fingers, that's what makes the magic happen. It looks like the bands change places. The only difficult thing about that is actually getting the green band into place. And you do it just like this. You put it onto one finger, onto my index finger, I give it half a twist, I put my next finger through the loop, give it half a twist, I put my next finger through the loop, I give it half a twist, I put my little finger through and let go. Show you that one more time. That goes onto my index finger, give the band half a twist, next finger, half a twist, next finger, half a twist, little finger, let go. If you find it difficult to do this with two bands at the same time, you don't have to do the second phase. You don't have to do it with two bands. I could do the same thing with just one band and still use the wall of death to make it look more difficult. And still, I can make the band hop with the wall of death in the way. And that's exactly the same as doing it with one band, and it's just as easy. The only difficult thing is twisting the green band on there to begin with. What I love about this trick is that there's just one secret, but by adding bands and a little bit of presentation, it looks like a different trick or a more impressive trick. And this happens all the time in magic. You learn one secret, and by presenting it in slightly different ways, you can make it look like you've learned lots of different magic tricks. Today's performing tip is about your audience. Think about what your audience can see. Can they see enough? Can they see too much? If they can't see enough, they might not understand the story or the magic trick. And if they can see too much, they might see how the magic trick is done. For example, with the jumping bands, you can't have people watching from behind or looking from the sides, because they would see that elastic band stretched across your fingers when your hand is this way round. So for magic, it's really important to think about what angles people can watch from and still make it magic for them. Another thing is to make sure things are clear for your audience. Is it easy to understand? In the jumping bands, I deliberately chose bands which were very different colours so you could see the difference between them. If you use something similar like red and orange, the audience may not even notice when they change places because they're so alike. So it's really important to think about what's clear for your audience as well. One good way to do that when you're practicing is to watch yourself in a mirror so you can see what an audience will see. Although it can be difficult to watch yourself and to concentrate on performing at the same time. So the very best way of doing it is to record yourself with a video camera. You could use your phone and just set it up and take a video clip of yourself when you're practicing. That means that while you're practicing, you can concentrate on performing, and afterwards you can watch the video and look at it from the audience's point of view to see what they see. So grab something that you can record yourself with, grab some elastic bands, and go and practice the jumping bands. And I'll see you next time on James Magic. Oh, before I go, I hope you're enjoying these tips and tricks and that you try them for yourself at home. If you do, BICT and I would love to see it. Why not record your magic and send a clip to BICT? Just record it on your phone and email it to bictfest@gmail.com. I can't wait to see what you do. Bye for now.